In the annals of history there exist projects so chilling they're buried deep within the shadows, away from public scrutiny. Today we delve into one such project, Project SHAD. Project SHAD, an acronym for Project Shipboard Hazard and Defense, was a covert operation shrouded in secrecy. Born in the crucible of the Cold War, it was a time when fears ran high and trust ran low. The early 1960s, a period marked by high-stakes political tension and the ever-looming threat of nuclear annihilation. The world was on the precipice, a delicate dance between peace and war. In this volatile climate, the US government initiated Project SHAD with a singular, chilling purpose. The objective of Project SHAD was unsettling yet straightforward: to assess the US military's vulnerability to biological and chemical attacks. Imagine, if you will, the government sanctioning tests to expose its own military personnel to potentially lethal substances. A disturbing thought, isn't it? But that's precisely what transpired. The tests were carried out surreptitiously, away from the public eye. The participants, largely unaware of the exact nature of the experiments, were essentially human guinea pigs. The government, it seemed, was willing to risk the lives of its own soldiers to safeguard against an unseen enemy. This was a time when the ends were believed to justify the means, no matter how drastic. The mindset was one of survival, of staying one step ahead in the perilous game of global politics. The Cold War was not merely a clash of ideologies, it was a battle for supremacy, a silent war fought in the shadows. And in these shadows, Project SHAD was quietly, ominously unfolding. Its operations, shrouded in layers of secrecy, were conducted under the guise of national security, but at what cost? The true toll of these experiments, both on the individuals involved and the fabric of our society, is a story that is only now beginning to emerge from the shadows. A project born out of fear and paranoia, Project SHAD harbors a chilling truth that remains largely unknown to this day. With the stage set, the experiments of Project SHAD commenced, shrouded in secrecy and deception. In the name of national security, the methodical machinations of Project SHAD began to unfold. At its core, this clandestine operation was a series of tests that involved the exposure of both military personnel and unsuspecting civilians to harmful substances. A chilling fact that would only surface decades later is that all this was done without their informed consent. The goal? To assess the United States' vulnerabilities and potential responses to biological and chemical warfare. But at what cost? Let's delve a bit into the methodology. The tests were conducted both on land and at sea, involving a wide range of substances. Some were relatively harmless tracers used to track dispersal patterns, but others were far more sinister. Among the substances used were VX nerve gas and E. coli bacteria. VX nerve gas, one of the most potent nerve agents ever developed, is known for its rapid onset of symptoms and high fatality rate. On the other hand, E. coli, a bacterium commonly found in the intestines, was manipulated into a weaponized form, capable of causing severe illness or even death. These substances were released into the environment, often without the knowledge of those in the vicinity. The unsuspecting military personnel and civilians were thus exposed, their reactions and symptoms observed and meticulously documented. They were, in essence, human guinea pigs in a grand experiment, their lives at stake for the sake of data collection. Yet they were oblivious to the danger they were in, unaware of the silent, invisible threats they were subjected to. The magnitude of the deception and the violation of basic human rights is staggering, leaving us to grapple with a disturbing question: how could this have been allowed to happen? The unsuspecting participants were mere pawns in a game they didn't even know they were playing. Among the shadows and secrets, the true victims of Project SHAD were the participants themselves. This isn't just a story of clandestine operations and hushed-up experiments, it's a tale of human lives, forever altered by the machinations of their own government. The participants, primarily service members of the United States military, were unknowingly subjected to biological and chemical agents during the project. The aim was to identify weaknesses and develop countermeasures to potential biological and chemical warfare, but the cost was high. Many of these veterans experienced long-term health effects, some of which were debilitating and even fatal. Breathing became a laborious task for some, a constant reminder of the experiments they were unknowingly part of. Cases of chronic bronchitis, emphysema, and other respiratory issues were reported among these veterans. The air that once filled their lungs during drills and marches was now a source of pain and discomfort. Others found themselves in a battle against an unseen enemy inside their bodies. Various forms of cancer started to emerge among the participants, a silent testament to their involvement in Project SHAD. They fought against the disease, just as they had fought for their country. But this was a battle many wouldn't win. The echoes of their struggle were heard in the halls of government offices and courts for years. The victims sought recognition and compensation for their suffering, yet the government, for the longest time, denied any wrongdoing. They dismissed the health issues as unrelated to Project SHAD, leaving the victims to fight their battles alone. But the truth has a way of revealing itself, and the shadows of Project SHAD started to recede. The government's denial couldn't hold up against the mounting evidence. Yet, recognition came too late for some, their lives claimed by the very diseases they contracted during the project. The invisible scars of Project SHAD still linger, a testament to the human cost of fear and secrecy. The unseen victims of this project serve as a grim reminder of the sacrifices made in the name of national security, and the dire consequences when human life becomes a pawn in the game of power and control. The veil of secrecy began to lift in the late 1990s, revealing the chilling truth about Project SHAD. As the 20th century neared its close, the world began to awaken to a hidden horror. The clandestine experiment, Project SHAD, was finally brought to light, not through governmental transparency, but through the relentless pursuit of truth by investigative journalists and persistent pressure from veterans groups. The initial revelations were like a ripple effect, slowly spreading across the public consciousness. Hard-hitting reports started to emerge detailing the disturbing methodology and impacts of the project. The government, in response, refused to acknowledge these investigations. Silence, it seemed, was their weapon of choice. However, the veterans, those who were the unseen victims of these experiments, refused to be silenced. They rallied, forming powerful alliances. Their voices echoed in the halls of power, demanding recognition, demanding justice. As the pressure mounted, the government's wall of denial began to crack. Reluctantly, they began to admit to the existence of Project SHAD. But the admissions were carefully worded, wrapped in layers of bureaucratic language designed to minimize the impact and deflect responsibility. Yet, the truth was out there. The project had indeed been real, and its effects on the participants were far from imaginary. The government's reluctant admissions, however, did not lead to accountability. The architects of the project remained nameless, the reasons behind their actions unexplained. The veterans, who had been used as unsuspecting guinea pigs in this chilling experiment, were left to grapple with the consequences alone. Their pleas for help, for compensation, met with bureaucratic red tape and indifference. The truth of Project SHAD, once locked away in the shadows, was finally exposed. But the unveiling was not the end. It was merely the beginning of a new chapter in the struggle for justice and accountability. The legacy of the project continued to cast a long and ominous shadow, a grim reminder of a time when the ends justified the means, irrespective of the human cost. The truth of Project SHAD, once locked away in the shadows, was finally exposed. Project SHAD casts a long, chilling shadow over the annals of history. This dark chapter, shrouded in secrecy and controversy, has left an indelible mark that continues to reverberate long after the experiments concluded. The legacy of Project SHAD is multidimensional. It exposed the fragility of human rights when pitted against the might of national security. It highlighted the grim reality of how far governments might be willing to push the boundaries of ethical research. But perhaps most importantly, it sparked a renewed emphasis on informed consent. Informed consent is the cornerstone of ethical research. It ensures that participants are fully aware of the potential risks and benefits of a study before they agree to participate. Project SHAD threw this principle into sharp relief. The cries for justice from those unwittingly involved in the project amplified the need for stringent regulations to protect individuals in research. The echoes of Project SHAD can be heard in the halls of policymaking. It has been a catalyst for change, prompting a re-evaluation of how we approach the delicate balance between national security and individual rights. The project has influenced policy revisions and the implementation of stricter guidelines to prevent similar incidents from recurring. Yet the struggle for justice and recognition by the victims continues to this day. The survivors of Project SHAD, their lives irrevocably altered, continue to seek acknowledgement and reparation for the harm inflicted upon them. Their fight is a testament to the human spirit's resilience and an enduring quest for truth and justice. This quest, however, is not confined to the victims alone. It extends to all of us. It challenges us to question, to seek transparency, and to hold those in power accountable. It reminds us of the importance of vigilance in protecting our rights and the rights of those around us. Project SHAD, a chilling reminder of the lengths governments may go in the name of national security, and the enduring quest for truth and justice by those caught in the crossfire.